All right, so really what we're doing is that we're going to be replacing all the DOM elements, right, with a whole bunch of other elements that are available. Okay? Now there's certainly some of the basic elements that come with React out of the box, right? But you would have to do quite a bit to style them to look somewhat prettier or somewhat presentable. So instead of using some of their low-level, out-of-the-box elements, right? We're going to be using some of those, right? But instead, we're going to be presenting a library that builds on them, right? That generates widgets that are already nice and presentable. Very much like we style things using Bootstrap, right? So that we would use classes and styles, right, to make our buttons and our elements a little more presentable. Right? To that end, right, we're going to be using a library called the React Native Elements. Right? React Native Elements is it's just a long gallery of widgets, right, that build on the already existing library of elements that come out of the box. Okay? To install the library, you can. Well, here's creating a sample application. We already have a sample application. We'll stick to the one we already have. Here's running on the iOS 6s. So we're going to be installing a new library. npm install React Native Elements, right? And also the icons. So these icons are the equivalent of using Font Awesome, right? In many other libraries. So it brings down all the really cool fonts and icons that we're going to be using. And here's a documentation. Again, I invite you to explore the documentation. I'm going to have to install this, so I'll install this. Right, so let's copy that, and I'm going to stop this running on my machine. Are we in the right place? Yes. So we're going to install the React Native Elements. So that's going to take a couple seconds. We'll also need to install the icons, so let me go fetch that too. All right, and here are the icons. So while that's going, let's keep looking at this. All right, so let's look at start using some of these React elements. All right, the most simple one, the simplest of which, right? An element, a header, right, where we would want to perhaps have a header at the top, right? We would have maybe two icons on either side, and in the center we would like a title. And that's pretty easy. And we're just going to use an element that is already includes that, and we'll just follow along. It's called the header component, right? And it's part of the library React Native Elements. It's already there, and you just have to include it and render it. We can configure a couple things. For instance, in the header, we can configure what icon you want on the left-hand side, what icon you want on the right-hand side, and what text you want. Okay? So for the center component, you can provide things, a JSON object. Use a JSON object that you can configure the text for the title. You can configure the color as being white. Here in the left component, we can provide the icon we want. This is straight from Font Awesome. If you go to Font Awesome, then there's a menu, font icon, and that's the little hamburger on the left-hand side. And then we color them on white. On the right-hand side, we want an icon, the home button on the right-hand side, and the color we want. So here we're creating notice it's a stateless component, right? And we are creating it in a fixed header component. And then from the top level component, we're just going to import it, right, and add it as our very first element to be rendered, right? So let's do that. let's see. Let's stop this and let's create a brand new component. We'll call it fixed header component. So let's in here, and there's my entry point. So we'll create here. We'll create a directory where we can play around with our elements. Right. So this is just playing around. So these are elements, and in here we'll create a new fixed header JS, and it'll be just a simple stateless component. So we'll need import React from React. So that's the same. And then in here we're going to import a header from React native elements. There they are, right? Once we have that, we can create our little component. We can say const fixed header is equal to a stateless component that's going to return just our header. Okay, and I'm just going to copy it here. And we're going to export it. We're going to export the default fixed header. All right. Okay. Now that we have that, I guess this is complaining. Where are you complaining? I think I have an extra parenthesis somewhere. There we go. I think so. Now in our app, instead of having this hello world, we can instead bring the fixed header, which we just created, and we'll import it here. It will be import fixed header from, where is it? From elements, and then fixed header. All right. All right. So let's try restarting our let's run it. It'll be what is it? React native run iOS and simulator. What is it? I think it's -- simulator, and then this will be an iPhone 6s. Let's see. Starting packager. Restart simulator. Do I need to restart the simulator? All right, there it is. Almost what I wanted. I believe it's because the root component is centering everything. Right? So if we go to the root component, which is, I believe, right here, it's this style. See that? It's notice it has a view element. It's almost like a div. It behaves like a div, a generic divider. And one of the attributes is the style that you can provide it. And so you have a style sheet down below that's creating it and then assigning to it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to blow that away. All right, I'm not going to have a style. I'm just going to remove that. All right, there it is. Right, so it's not centering anymore. Right, so it's using just the basic styles that's being provided by our elements as opposed to us overriding the centering and whatnot. Okay. All right. So there it is. So we got our first element component. A couple things that we can do is, for instance, we can style the status bar. We can just remove it, right, or make it dark, or lighten it up. So, for instance, in the fixed header, we can import the status bar, and up here, right, we can include as this is a one of the out of the box elements that comes with just React Native, and so you can import that. Once you have that, you can then include it as part of the top level view of how to configure the status bar. Right now, I think it's a little bit too dark, right? And now it's lightened, so it's white, light content. Okay, or you can just hide it. So you can say hidden equal true, and it just goes away, right? But I think it looks better with the title, with the status bar. So I'm just going to remove that. Okay, all right. All right. Let's see what else. Icons. We can play around with different types of icons. Let's look at playing around first with some text and headings. So, for instance, just like you have H1, H2, H3, and so on and so forth that you have on HTML. Well, here you have something similar, right? But this is there's two. We're going to be using the text element, but the one that comes in the React Native elements. Right? The React Native library already comes with a text element, but that one is not as stylable as this one, the one that comes with the React Native elements. Right? So this one you can configure and say whether you want H1, H2, and that is already tied to a whole bunch of styles. Yes. Your question? No? So let's look at that. We can grab the text element. So let's see. Okay, so we're doing this in a completely separate file. So let's create text headings just to play around with that. Let's see. We can under elements we can create a new one. We can say text headings.js, and in there let's grab the whole thing and paste it in there. So notice what this is doing is that it's creating a brand new stateless component, and it's just returning view. View is the one of the out of the box elements, right? The rendering elements. It behaves just like a div, and is using text. Notice the H1 there. H1 meaning that's going to be one of the bigger ones, right? And it's going to export it. And once we have that, we can then from app.js we can then just load it. We can say import it here. We can say import text headings.js from elements, and then this will be text heading. And once we have that, we can just after the header, we can just render it here, text headings, and there's our welcome. Okay. Oftentimes, notice by default we don't have a border around this, like you would on Bootstrap. Right? You typically would put a like a container or a container fluid. Here we can what we could do is the actual content. We can perhaps wrap it inside of a view. In that view, we can provide a style, right? And the style can take an object. The object is a lot of the same CSS attributes that you can configure in HTML are also available here. So for instance, you can configure padding, and padding would be, say, 20, so that's pixels. And notice that adds the padding around it, right? And you still have padding top, bottom, left, right. This is all around 20 pixels around. Okay? Let's see, what else? So here's a couple more. Let's grab a couple more sizes and let's add it to our text heading. So in addition to this one, let's paste. Oops. Let's paste another couple ones, H2, H3, H4, and they just render. Notice that in different sizes, right? And typically, again, you would use it just like you would in HTML for different sizes. Okay. So some simple examples. And some of them, if you don't provide the size, then it will use the default size, right? Which might be a little bit too. Oops, it might be a little bit too small to read. Oh, there it is. I don't know if you could read that. There's a lot of Epson down there. Right? But you can use the style. Right, and provide a particular font size, a particular font family, you're just like you would in HTML. Let's see what else. Padding. We looked at padding. You can also add a divider. So, for instance, right between these two, we might want to add a divider. So let's load the divider elements, and under the divider, we can configure the divider and then provide a default color. The default color is this gray color that you can barely see, but you can change that to be any color you want. Here we can change the style, the background color, to be blue. So in the divider we can set the style is the background is blue. So that changes to a little darker blue. You can set the size, the width, the height. You can set all kinds of other stylings. Let's look at icons. Icons. Let's do that in a separate file. Let's see. Let's so put icons.js, and let's copy this in there. So icon is a component that allows you to render all sorts of icons. Like many of the social icons are available. So Facebook will be there, LinkedIn will be there. All those icons will be there. Most of all the icons that you find on Font Awesome will also be there. Probably not with all the variations that Font Awesome gives you. Font Awesome will give you like a base icon, right? And then we'll give you like a modifier that allows you to do all sorts of little. Well, those might not be here, right? Only the base ones would be here. So let's see. You can. Here's a couple one. Here's oops. Let's copy this one. So here's an iOS American football is a icon, and let's include that in our app here. So let's load icons from here. Import icons from let's see, from elements and icons. And here under the fixed header, we can maybe render the icons. So this will be icons. And there's our football at the top. Right? Notice that the way we rendered that the background color is from here. That bluish, and the reverse is what actually rendered the rounded color around the icon. And notice that the type is Ionic, right? So it actually has a lot of libraries that you can choose from, right? If you want Font Awesome, you can use Font Awesome there, or if it's an Ionic, then you use Ionic, or if it's a Materials, you would use Materials here. So there's a whole bunch of a family of icons that you can refer to here. Another one here is from Font Awesome. Let's copy this one. And here is raised. So this is not putting a background color. Well, actually it is. The color of the raised button. The icon is a heartbeat icon, but it's from the Font Awesome library. Right? So this is not from Ionic. Right? So there's a whole bunch of libraries that are represented here. And also we can also bind event handlers right on the icon. Right, for pressing, you can say on press. Here we are using an alert component. That is also part of the out-of-the-box component that comes in when you install React Native. That gives you the basic alert behavior. So let's add that. So let's copy and let's add that to our icon. Paste it there. We'll need to, if you save it, it's the alert actually won't work. Oh, it did. Wait, did I load it? Alert? Oh, I had loaded alert. Yes, all right. It was already there from the previous one. But if it was not there, you would get a. You see? All right. So an angry phone that doesn't find alert, right? Doesn't find that command. But you can always just fix it, right? right? And you can just refresh. All right.
Does error show up on the
No, only there.
You just have to read it.
Yeah. On the console, the phone has its own console. Yes. Yeah, you can plug into a console and you can see to the console. Yeah. And what else? Let's see. A couple more. We have icons, lists. Actually, let's do lists when we come back tomorrow.